Not you. You make a noise on the bacon.
Wow.
You can make noise. Next time I go to Tzvas, I have to get your Shred's address.
Okay. Yeah.
Make sure you're
Yeah.
Yeah, outside Tzvas.
I visit him every time I go there.
No?
And it's changed. They made a beautiful O-house. Used to be just nothing. Like one?
Yeah. After the move.
Yeah, I guess.
All right. No difference.
Whatever. Doesn't matter.
No. Seat is a seat.
All right. There's your plate. This can just plate on your plate.
Happy to
Go ahead,
match.
Evan, if
Make
you want,
the
if
change.
you're hungry.
Oh, you also have your kid. And one day one. Okay.
Good gosh.
Okay. That makes sense.
Shabbos, the Rebbe's brothers.
Huh?
Your son, Shabbos, is
David.
the Rebbe. The Rebbe's brother,
yeah.
your Shabbos.
Yeah, 70 years.
There's a bimei balanes.
Right.
Jamie.
Good morning.
Oh, yes.
It's a good question.
I think today.
You suffer so much.
Here's his foot. Right there.
I had no fish for breakfast.
No much.
And I don't know.
Now you realize,
No,
wow.
I made that.
It all comes out of the
No,
bottom.
I made it
Shama.
for him.
Hindsight is 20/20 vision.
I made it for him.
Oh, okay.
Look at one, two, three. Yo, I made it for him specifically.
Okay. Hayom Kotzer, and it's a special day, as it was just, as David just read from the Hayom Yom. First, just a simple question someone asked the other night, and it happens all the time. It happens that someone said that he knew that was day 25. He said, but the previous day he counted 23, and he's sure about it. So what do you do? The answer is simple, but we read it. I want to read it inside and just bring an interesting twist about this shaila. The Alter Rebbe writes in Shulchan Aruch, Siman Tov Pei Tes. It's interesting. It's this week's parsha. That was the Spartam Lachem Mochres Shabbos for him. The Achim Tamat Rufa Sheva Shabbos is Tamimus Tiyeno. The Pasuk says Tamimus. We learned several things. Tamimus means that you have to be complete. And number one, you have to start counting at night. This way it's Tamimus, because you counted the whole day from the first minutes as it went in. And also Tamimus means that there has to be all 49 days. The Alter Rebbe brings the Machloikas of Yishayim. If you forgot to count one night, there's no counting the other nights. He totally lost the mitzvah.
But with that bracha, you can count?
No.
Let's finish. When he missed that one day, it says it has to be Tamimus. So Tamimus means 49 days. If he missed a day, it's all out. It's all over. He's hifsid. He ruined it. There are those that disagree. The truth, the machlokes is within the Bahag Gufa, what the Bahag said. That you get to continue the other nights. Every night is a separate mitzvah. And they're not one is not hanging on the other one. One is not dependent on the other one. The minig is that we count the other nights without a bracha. So we say that Suffolk brachas. So what should you do? So keep on counting without a bracha. Keep on counting without a bracha. You could ask someone else to hear his bracha and to be yotza, but you can't make the bracha. That a person didn't remember the night and the full next day. If you remember the next day. The Sipur below bracha and count without a bracha. Commotion is more lamayla. Yisper b'shor kol aleilas b'bracha. The rest of the night you count with a bracha. After we swore the shayna, lahivsted mitzvahs svida b'chisan laila echet. Given shesafar lamacher. By Yom he did count. By Adehim the kram tzimim shesefer kol amemtes Yom he counted all 49 days. After Yeshemim shasvida ein ela balayla. There is an opinion that says that the svida must be balayla. L'pishaf im shachich lisper balayla ein tzarich. You could say according to that opinion, counting by day is worth nothing. So it's sort of like a svek. We say that if you count it by day, there's a shaila of the counting by day counts or not. But then there's also a shaila if all 49 is one unit or every night is a separate bracha. So since he already did by day, so he keeps on counting with a bracha. Okay. Summarize. If all the 49 days are one unit, or each is a separate mitzvah. And then after is if you missed out one night, if you could continue reading. If you missed the night la locha, you keep on reading without a bracha. You could always ask someone else to hear their bracha and to be yotzei. The Rebbe has an interesting word. The Rebbe, he doesn't think that the machloikis is if it's all one unit or 49 separate mitzvahs. What's the Rebbe's raya? Tosfos says that the woman also counts b'sofra law. She has to count the clean days, and there's no bracha. Tosfos says why? Because what happens if she has tister v'tira? What happens if she counts days and whoops, the whole novel pita bebeda, the whole counting gets ruined. Right. Yeah. Then she has to start all over again. And now she made a bracha, so it was a bracha levatola. So that's what Tosfos says. That's why the woman
at the time she made it. Just like Shur Shomer, if a person...
Oh, you got to let me finish. So, l'chayda, someone could ask, a good shaila, like Alan was about to ask, someone can ask, hey, wait a minute. If I counted the 47 days, and day 48, I forgot, 49, I count without a bracha. So if you're going to tell me in retro, the bracha is a bracha levatolo, so also by Sfiras Aimer, we should say no one should make a bracha. It happens. Sometimes people forget one night. And then so if you say what Tosfos says, is that retro, it's a bracha levatolo, so why don't we say by Sfiras Aimer, says the Rebbe Zeraya, everyone holds that every day is a mitzvah. The shaila is something else. Like to say RIshon is not if it's one unit or a separate mitzvah. Shaila is this. You're saying the Eibush is said to count days. It's a countdown. So a person's counted 23, and now 25. It's not stam. It's not stam. The Eibush is set to count. It's a metzias. It's a choshev thing. The Eibush is set to count. This opinion says, how could you count when you're missing? How could you say now is day 25? For you, it's day 24. It's not day 25. So therefore, that's the pshat. But it's not the pshat. The other days, it's not the pshat. That in retrospect, the other days were bracha levatola. The Rebbe had an interesting chakira, and that the Rebbe spoke about, basically once the first year he was a Rebbe, and once mamish like one of his last sichas, and he changed his mind a little on it. It's interesting. The Rebbe had this thought: what does it mean to count? What does it mean to count? Is it a metzias? Like, a bagel? This is a bagel. Is it a kazayis? Is it a kabetza? Is it mezainis? Is it a moitzi? It's a bagel. You can hold in your hand, and you can ask a shaila. Counting. What's counting? What is it? What's the metzias of counting? Is it that counting is a metzias, and the Eibush said that you should count, or is it like the Gemara says in Beitza, mitzvah se achsheve? Now that the Eibush said you should count, it becomes a metzias of counting. My nafkamina. It sounds like a bachira in the sky. No, the Rebbe said nafkamina be simple. The shaila is example Eved that became free in middle of the street, or a cotton, better yet, a cotton. A cotton is not chayiv to do the mitzvahs, only midrabanan. So he counted his day 25 is his bar mitzvah. So the first 24 days, keshaylanish, he counts sweet and he makes a bracha because he's doing a mitzvah derabanan, mitzvah chinuch. Now he's chayiv min ha-Torah. The day after the mitzvah is chayiv min ha-Torah to count. Whatever, min ha-Torah today is maybe derabanan, but for sure it's a higher level derabanan, chad derabanan, today derabanan. For sure it's a higher level. After your bar mitzvah, what you do is on a higher level. So the question is, does the counting of the first 25 days add up to this? I mean, everyone's going to be asking, for example, if a person, everyone will agree, if a person converts day 25 of Sfiras Oim, but he can't count. There's no shaila. You start counting next year. He's not going to start counting. He could count, but without a bracha.
Well, what about bar mitzvah?
There's no quiet.
Process of learning to become
Right,
a
he
Jew.
could learn when he's in the process, but now that he toivel and he went to, he can't because he's making now bracha levatol. It's a joke.
So while he's preparing to become a Jew, he can't make brachas.
I don't know. That's a separate shaila. If he could, as a chon or not, but definitely no question that the day after he went through the gear that he can't count anymore. If he could before or not is a separate question. Could be yes, because he has to train himself to do mitzvahs. And could be not because you know already what's going to happen. But mitzvah boy is a shaila. Interesting shaila. So in the first, originally Rebbe asked that he was mesupik. He was like more noita maybe lechumra. Rebbe said that maybe the pshat is that this guy, when he was counting the first 25 days of cotton, his counting got kechashivas because the Eibishter never told him to count. This Eved, the Eibishter never told him to count. The Eibishter never told him to count. By a ger, we all agree, because a ger, the thing is that the first 24 days, he was a different person. It's as if a guy fell off the moon. He's a ger, this guy could cotton Chanel, he's a new man, I understand. But by a child, it's not a new man. It's the same cotton. So that was the question. And originally the Rebbe was like Mesupik about it. And then Achim Shapesach Tavshin Aleph, the Rebbe said no. He brought a few rayas. He said no. He said the Rebbe said that it doesn't make sense. It's true. Counting is not a mitzvah. The mitzvah makes it choshev. But which mitzvah? Am I doing the mitzvah, or because the Eibishter said to count? Again, it's like what's the nafkamina? What's the pshat is like this. The Rebbe said like this: if the Eibishter says that a yid has to eat av kazayis matzah, so obviously there's no such thing. Obviously in the world there's such a thing as matzah. A mitzvah is always that there's something in this world, and the Eibishter says take the flour, take the water, mix it, make sure it's less than 18 minutes before it hits the oven, and then eat a kazayis within 4 minutes. The mitzvah means that there's something in this world, the gashmias, and the Eibishter said go apply the mitzvah to this. So because the Eibishter said to count Sfiras Omer, so the mitzvah say achshave, that there is such a mitzvah as counting, and now we want you to go count. So therefore, since the cotton was already counting, even though he wasn't mitzvah min ha-Torah to count, but there is such a mitzvah as counting, so he could keep on counting with a bracha. And the Rebbe said there's another nafkamina. When Mashiach is going to come, there's a shaila if we're going to count Sfiras Omer. We're going to count Sfiras Omer. Why? Because the Minka Cheruf said that Sfiras Omer is not only has to do with the Korban Omer, it also has to do with the Korban Shtei Alechem. If we couldn't bring the Omer, what's the difference? In the time of the Beis HaMikdash, they couldn't bring the Omer. They still counted the 49 days, and that leads them to the Korban Shtei Alechem. So if Mashiach comes today, we're going to keep on counting. Now, the counting that we're going to count from tonight is going to be Min HaTorah. The counting last night was Midirabonon. So l'chayda, you could say, how could you add it up? The counting, when the Torah doesn't tell you to count, the Rabbanan said to count, it's a different cheshbon. The answer is no, that we did count, even though it's the Rabbanan, there's a metzias of counting, and therefore we could keep on counting with a bracha. I know it sounds like chidushim, but anyway, Lamaisa, that was the Rebbe's maskana, that the counting is a mitzvah, and the mitzvah makes it a metzias, but not my counting makes it a metzias. Because the Eibishter said you should count, it's a metzias. So we're now in Golus, and for the first 30 days, we counted. The Eibishter didn't say we should count, and we said it with the Rabbanon we counted. But still, because the Eibishter said that you should count, and when you have a Beis HaMikdash, you should count. So even though we didn't have the base of Megush, but there was such a Metzias as counting. Lapoil, I counted. You can't tell me I can't say day 31. I counted up to 30. I counted, even though I didn't have the poil the mitzvah this year. But the Eibush just said there's such a Metzias of counting. Mitzvah say activate the Metzias, and since I did it, just like they would say by a cotton and by a that you could continue counting with a bracha. Mashiach will come. We'd continue counting with a bracha. That was the maskana that I had. Yeah.
And the fact that we didn't know that it was Midiraisa, that doesn't mean that it wasn't.
Nah, we have to learn. The Torah is Lo B'Shamayim. The Bezin has to know.
Why are we saying that the counting is the Metzias and not the days?
Because
Why can't we say the days of Metzias?
but there's a mitzvah to count. If the days were good enough, so the person that forgot to count a day, then he should be able to continue counting with a bracha, because the days are here. The days didn't walk away. The guy that forgot to count one day, he can't continue. Why? Because we're saying he doesn't have. How could you go from day 23 to day 25? But day 24 was there. The Metzias of the day was there, but the Metzias of counting is not there. That's why he missed the counting itself. Yeah, the counting is such. It's like a Metzias called counting.
We're also correcting character traits.
Oh, for sure. We're correcting character traits. If you missed out a day, you really didn't fix. The whole machine is now. There's
I'm correcting character traits. I don't think I got past day one.
After a regular guy that half of the day is working, got that one
right.
The time that he didn't to fix the minutes is only a few minutes.
Yeah.
So if you miss one day, you can take away from work to fix 2 minutes in one day. And that's
You double up.
Okay, let's read the last 3 lines in Shaila Aleph. I found a beautiful nafkamina for the Rebbe's Chidush in another halacha that I think it just fits like a hand in a glove. The Pischi Truv in Yeridei Simashim Aleph brings like this. Someone asked the Noidi Behuda a question. Basically, his father passed away, say on Sunday. The burial can't happen until Tuesday. So I already mentioned about this in the winter, that in Europe they had this mishagas. They were scared that a person, they didn't know what means a person died. A person died. We know the Gemara tells you put a feather under the nose and you see the neshima. They didn't know. They were terrified that the guy is still alive and you buried him. Some places they had a law, you have to make a little hole with the bell. The guy can ring the bell to say, hey, I'm alive. And then in many countries, they made it illegal to bury the person for 48 hours. There has to be observation for 48 hours. The mess has to be there for 48 hours. And if he didn't smile or wink in 48 hours, that means he's dead. That's very primitive. And how many years ago do you think it was? Not that long ago. We know from Chazal. Chazal told us, very simple.
Did they bury people that were dead?
They waited 48 hours from death.
I know, but before that, they were burying people that were dead?
I don't know what they did before that, but they were paranoid. The king of Persia thought that he's going to be buried when he's really alive because the doctors don't know. So he didn't believe what Chazal say, that you put the feather under the nose. So he made a law that you can't bury a mace for 48 hours. Now, the person asked, a simple shaila, was in the days of Svida. So his father can be buried for another 48 hours. And the oinen is potem chalamitzus amuris b'toira. So he can't count Svidas Omer. But once he can't count for 48 hours, he's missing 2 days of Svidas Omer. So how is he going to continue counting? But he wants to count with the bracha. So the Rebbe Kiva said, the Rebbe Yehuda said, I have an eitzah for you. Count without a bracha. Count for those 2 days without a bracha, and then you'll continue counting with a bracha. So I would say that this question of the Noida Yehuda would be told in this question we just asked. That if you hold, like the Rebbe said at the beginning, that my mitzvah makes it a chashivus, well, this guy didn't have a mitzvah. But if you say that in the mitzvahs in the Welt, because the Eibush is said to do the mitzvah, and obviously there's such a metzias is counting. And even if a cotton counted when he's potted, well, a poil he counted, and even though he's potted, he could continue counting later with a bracha. And an Eved, he was potted, he was not fully Jewish, he could continue counting. And Mashiach came, we could continue counting with a bracha. Same thing here, even though this guy, he was potted from counting. But there is a mitzvah to count, and Lapoil he counted, so therefore he could continue counting with a bracha.
Do we pass him that way, that if an Onain, if he misses Spirit Omer, he has that eitzah?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, if someone would ask me now, I would say definitely yes. Now that I learned the Sikha and I see the Noida Biuda, I say Gesundheit. Yeah, I would say that way. That's why I'm bringing it up. This is not a pie in the sky. I'm asking Shiloh's and Negela Maisa.
Yeah.
But then you say that Purim still in the Purim still in anyhow.
Oh, this is special
So
chiddush.
maybe when it's still so also.
This is special chiddush.
Huh?
This is special
No,
chiddush.
even you say that even still in that it's so clear that no you still have a chiddush.
Can't make a kavachomer.
Still has a omer.
Ähnliche ba'el chiddush. Okay. Last night, the shaila was about when to eat matzah. There's a minute to eat matzah on Pesach Sheni. When is the minute to eat matzah on Pesach Sheni? When is the minute to eat matzah on Pesach Sheni? There's a beautiful letter from the Rebbe. Masha shalom noyegim lechel matzah Pesach Sheni. Person asked the Rebbe, what's the minute Chabad? Because there are those that say, the Chaz Nish, for example, didn't like this minute. He said it's Baltei Sifrim. We don't find the Torah should say it. So there are those that don't have this minute dafka. There are those that say Tachanun today. The Alter Rebbe Lepoel says not to say Tachanun. And it's interesting. We don't say Tachanun. Like yesterday, people were asking, you say Tzedkos Chatzedek. So the answer is that the Alter Rebbe says that not saying Tachanun only applies from Aloisa Shachar of Pesach Sheni. And the Pashtus, why? Because it makes sense. What's the celebration of Pesach Sheni? Bringing the Korban Pesach. So even though the Pesach is brought from Chatzos, you could say, but the whole day becomes, the Kedusha spreads a whole day. But that's from Alois Shachar, not the day before. It doesn't make sense the day before. So therefore, we don't say Tachanun only from Alois Shachar. By Lag Ba'omer, we'll talk about in the next question. By Lag Ba'omer,
You don't say Tachanun away from Mincha.
so we said Tzedkos Chatzedek, because Alter Rebbe says you don't say Tachanun from
Last night, instead of doing Motzei Shabbos, we would have been a regular day of the week. We would have said Tachanun
in Krish Mashalamita, it's a whole shaila. And I just want to go back here. Masha Shalom Noigim Lechel Matzah Pesach Sheni. In a noise of Masha Martele Balpeh Sheminogenu Biyusa Al Minig Beis Chayenu Shritu Lechel Matzah Besudus Yom Yudalad Bir. This is a letter that Rebbe wrote when he wasn't Rebbe. He's just writing about his Rebbe. So he said the minig in Beis Chayenu means in the family of the Lubavitcher Rebbe is that they do eat matzah on Yom Yudalad. Matzah Se'ata, he brings different svarim, and one of them is in the Mekute Ma'arich, which is really interesting things that he has. Minig anshe ma'isa lechel matzah Yom Yudalad v'tzorchin alo yechilus Pesach Sheni u'balel tezvav, and then the Rebbe brings from Sefer Chaim V'Sholom, from the Moshe Gold from Munkach, who was a Talmud of the Minkach Ru. The minig was to eat matzah and mortar, and the minig was like this: Besudus Yom Yudalad Iyar, v'Avshachilus Pesach Sheni Balel Tezvav, Makom Makom Akrova B'Yom Moya, V'Ikar Hu V'Ascholo Balel Tezvav Hayagam Ke Medaktik Lechel Matzah. That the minig was in Munkach that they had twice. They ate matzah B'Yom Yudalet today, and they also ate it at night, tonight. So, what's the idea here? So the pshat is like this: that there's two types. You could ask a question. What's the minute? We have a minute. Oh, guys, what's a pilpul in the minute? A minute, but it's not true. Every minute Yisrael has a certain achievements, and especially a minute that started and went on for hundreds of years. Like Gedol Yisrael practice this minute. Minhag Yisrael Torah. Okay, so you can ask a question. What's the minhag? Why do we eat matzah? Those that eat matzah Pesach Sheni. Is it lezecher the korban that they brought the korban in the Beis Hamikdash, or is it lezecher the eating that they ate, just like we eat afikoyman? We spoke about this year. The question is that lezecher? Rashi says it's lezecher the matzah you ate together with the korban Pesach. Other Rishonim say it's lezecher the korban Pesach itself. And a person that could should try to eat two kazaysim for both. Like the question here is, why are we eating the matzah? To commemorate the korban Pesach that they brought in the Beis Hamikdash, or is it to commemorate the matzah that the korban Pesach they ate at night? So if you're trying to make a zichron for the korban Pesach, you would do it by day. Today is when they would bring the korban. Tonight it's too late. Now is the time they're going to bring it soon, and it's has to be the Bein Arbayim. It's so now is the time to eat the matzah. And furthermore, according to this, it's Indian is to eat matzah after chatzos because there's mana da'akrava. And then, if you're saying it's for the eating, the Korban Pesach, it should be tonight. Now, it makes more sense. Why tonight? Because that's when they would eat the Korban Pesach. They would do it, the Korban would be by day, and they would eat it by night. So, it makes more sense in the truth, if you think about this. The Rebbe says in the Sikha, it makes more sense to say that the Zecher is for the eating the Korban Pesach. We don't make any Zecher. For example, on Pesach RIshon, do we do anything l'Zecher the Korban Pesach? No. We say, those that say, like Chabad, we say from the Seder Korban Pesach. We say after Mincha, we say Seder Korban Pesach, but we don't do anything because it doesn't make sense to do something l'Zecher the Korban Pesach. It makes sense that the zeicha that we make by eating a matzah, the Pesach Sheni, is not l'zeicha the hakrova in the Beis Hamikdash. It's l'zeicha the achila, that we don't have the achila, but not for the hakrova.
Wouldn't that be a night?
Therefore, it would make more sense to say that the minhag is to eat it tonight. Obviously, it's not so. The screws here are not so tight, and that there's a mitzvah that I'm on that. Yeah. So I mentioned last night that you could eat it already last night, maybe even before Shabbos is out. So, but the MS is, if you really want to, if you want to nitpick and think about when the minhag is, so it would be the shaila is why is the minhag? If the minhag is to commemorate not the korban itself, but the eating of the korban, then it has to be tonight. Tonight, after at least after sunset, better after it says like a chavim. So Dave should really know that tonight we're going to have a fabring in honor of Pesach Sheni, and 1 second, tonight is Pesach Sheni, and the whole idea, as we read this morning in our Yom Yom, as in Stocken verfallen, it's never too late, and there is a Yid over here that Mamash, he's a big koch in life for many years. He worked on this is to daven with achayis, and he was in Eretz Yisrael. There was a mashpia, Chabad mashpia. His name was Moshe Weber.
I remember.
You remember?
Your hat.
Yeah. And Moshe Weber was the Anshe Mile of Yerushalayim, and and he was bemis. It was from Anshe Mile. They had this yard recently. So he come and the few choshavim told us Aaron Rebbe was a good chaver of his. Younger, but he learned by him. And he taught Avram Frank how to do his bonus betfila. So if you'd like to, this is a chance. And in general, it's a pella that we keep Pesach Sheni. If you think about this, the whole idea of Pesach Sheni is if you missed the first Pesach, you do the second Pesach. But we didn't miss the first Pesach. We did the Pesach RIshon, whatever we could do. We ate matzah, which is chiv min haTorah. We ate morer, which is chiv derabanan. We said Haggadah, which is a chiv min haTorah. We did whatever we need to do. All the minhagim we did. What is there hashlama? We didn't miss anything in the first. So Api Nigla, you could say there's a whole shaila that the Chido asks, the Minchas Chinuch, what happens if Mashiach comes today? Right now. Mashiach comes right now. Are we going to do Pesach Sheni or not? There's a whole discussion about this. So you could say that we're doing the celebration without saying Tachana, we eat matzah, because we're hoping Mashiach is going to come. There's something to celebrate. But Be'emes, Api Chassidus, it's a portion why we celebrate it. Because so even if there was something missing, the Rebbe has a beautiful word. The din is in the Mishnah, Tavel latruma, Huchzik latruma, V'tomei lechatos, Tavel lamaiser, Huchzik lamaiser, V'tomei latruma. It means like this. There's many levels in Kedusha. That if I toveled for chulin, so I'm toher. But if I want to eat now maiser, I'm toher. And then this Mishnah that Rambam uses as a raya that there's a spiritual content to toiveling in the mikveh. The Rambam in Nigla, it says in the halachas that we see from here Tovel v'lo huchzik them is we see that there's a very strong spiritual component to going to the mikveh. It was just a physical thing that you go into the water, splash in, splash out. So I went into the water. So Gandik, no, if I went for the kavanah for chulin, I'm still tummy for mais. I went for mais, I'm still tummy for truma. I went for truma, I'm still tummy for kodesh. For kodesh, I'm still tummy for mechatas, for the paraduma. That's the highest level in kedusha. Yeah, my intention. So we see that even in kedusha, we say misha tummy. Who was tummy? Even if a person, the first Pesach Sheni, it did the matzah and he did the wine and he did all the kavanas harizal, and mamish his neshama is given yitzias mitzrayim. But we're finite human beings, and we can always grow beruchnias. So compared to what we could have done, compared to what we did the Pesach RIshon, even if we did 100% avoid begashmis and beruchnias, we could do more. So it's never too late to use that chance of Pesach to make that that jump. So that's the special thing of today.
I have to be honest.
Yeah. Yeah, 1 second.
No,
I have to be honest. I was there the first Pesach, but I'll be honest again. I was falling asleep a little bit at the Seder, so this is another opportunity to make up for that.
If you were falling asleep to say, I didn't notice that. To me, it looked like you were fully engaged.
I was falling
He
asleep. I was
sleeping with
running
your
around the whole
Rabbi,
day.
he's coming to your
He was
house
sleeping
tonight.
with his eyes open.
Wow.
He was sleeping with his
Now you have
eyes
to do
open.
the whole Seder again.
Yeah.
His eyes were open, but he was sleeping.
the second set?
So I was fully
Are we saying definitely tonight?
second set.
And the Rebbe asked that question one year,
Second one.
and the Rebbe didn't have a maskana. But I would think, based on what we just said, that L'chayre should not say Tachim. Because the Rebbe asked, it's not whatever, because the Rebbe was just the Shakla Batari Yeshiva. But L'chayre, if we're looking at the Korban Pesach, the Achila was B'leil Tezvov.
is there any discussion that?
Those people don't take that the whole week.
Yeah, Rabbi Kirschenberg asked that before. I would say that the same matzah that you eat on Pesach RIshon, that should be the minig, and that type of matzah that you eat at Pesach Sheni.
You need more.
Yeah, but you can have a gebrochs.
I had a gebroch, you got it.
I see the hamantashen on the table.
Yeah.
I see the
Lots of rocks.
It's never too late to have hamantashen.
Those are good rocks up at I told you that.
Did they do anything other than the current basic foods, or they?
They did the matzah, the maror. They did those
The whole
people.
Seder, the man started 4 cups of wine, everything.
Yeah.
So it was wine. We got the wine.
No, that's not the minig. Okay. When do we start music? Lag ba'omer.
People that eat it during the day.
And the people eat it tonight.
Which great taste bud.
Because in time of the Beis Hamikdash, that's when they ate the Korban
Right,
Pesach.
right.
But when the Pesach Sheni, the whole idea was the Korban Pesach.
Right.
That they didn't eat the Korban Pesach the first time. Now
And
they
then
have a
the
second
second time.
opportunity.
Right.
But what you just said now was that it wasn't just the eating the Korban Pesach. They went through the whole Seder with the wine and the matzah and everything else. Is that what they did?
It sounds that way. Yeah.
Does it sound that way? Isn't it?
You know what?
There was no
Let's
Mr.
put it on
Chametz
hold.
Pesach
I'll look
Sheni.
into it.
Fact check.
Fact check.
Rabbi,
Yes.
there
Well,
was no
fact
Mr.
check.
Chametz on
There's
it.
no Isser Chametz, right? The Mishnah says that there was no Chametz Matzah Ema Babayis.
Wait, were you saying with taste bud that's Pesach Sheni? That Pesach Sheni,
Yeah,
that's what they
yeah,
did?
that's
In
when
this
they ate.
village?
Yeah. When do you start music on Lag BaOmer? Someone asked a question because someone called me that they're making a samcha on Wednesday night, so they wanted to know could they have music, and if they can have music, what time could they start the music?
It's a wedding?
It's a bar mitzvah.
Oh.
So they asked at what time they could start the music. So here's the question. The Alter Rebbe brings like a machloikis. In the Shulchan Aruch, M'chol makom afilu b'Lag BaOmer atzmi yizor sheloi l'stap akort moed hayom l'fi she'einem al mitzvim kekuloi aval laila afilu kula eina kechol hayom v'le pos kavel sad l'mocha b'yom v'chein em mitachrim b'tfilas mincha shel erev Lag BaOmer. That there is an opinion that says that you can't take a haircut on Lag BaOmer until Alois HaShachar. Why? Because why did you not take a haircut till now? Why did you not take a haircut? Because Avelos for the students of Rebbe Akiva. And so why? So what happened? Lag BaOmer mitzvah sayem kekule. Lag BaOmer is really part of the 33 days. It's the minig is 33 days. So So, okay, but this day is also one of the 33 days. So, you have to wait till after Alois Shachar. That's one opinion. Second opinion says no. נוהגים שלא לא מתחנו במנחה שערב ל"ג בעומר, לפי שסמכים שבתחילת ליל ל"ג פוסקה אבילס, ולכן אין אמרים מתחנו במנחה שלפונים, כמו שאין אמרים במנחה שלפני שער הימים, שאין אמרים מתחנו שלא קיימם. The second minute said no. Chazal say that Lag BaOmer they stopped to die. It's not that they died on Lag BaOmer also. No. There's two ways of learning it. They could say they died for 33 days. If we have that meaning to Lag BaOmer. So you learn that they died for 33 days, and the Lag BaOmer, a couple of guys also died. So why are we taking a haircut? Because Navelis Mitzvah Yom Kippur, so just like day 7 or day 30 is always after Alois Shachar, they say the day is over. So same thing here, on day 33, the Avelis is over. The second opinion says no, and Chazal said that Poskulamos, that no one died on Lag BaOmer. The last person finished dying on day 32. And Memela, the whole day 33 is a Yom Tov, not because Mitzvah Yom Kippur. The whole day 33 is a Yom Tov. And our minig is that whenever there's a Yom Tov, that we also don't say Tachon on the Mincha before, like Shabbos. We don't say Tachon on a Shabbos. We also don't say Friday by Mincha. Usually a Yom Tov, besides, as we said, Pesach Sheni, because it's something that only starts from Alois Shachar. If a regular Yom Tov, that the Kedusha spreads into the whole 24 hours, a Yom Tov with the Kedusha goes from wall to wall 24 hours, or with the Sefes, maybe it goes a little more from both sides. So then the Kedusha also seeps out that the Mincha before, you don't say Tachon, because you're already getting ready in for this Yom Kodesh. It's not shaykh to say Tachon anymore. It's a special day. It's Kedusha. Spiritually, whatever, Tachon doesn't exist anymore. We're ready. We're getting into Shabbos. We're starting to climb the mountains of Tzvas to Makabel Shabbos. We're going up there. It's like Tachon. Who's thinking about Tachon now? We're going into Kedusha to Shabbos. Any day that's holy from wall to wall, 24 hours, the Mincha Shalafonov, you don't say Tachon. That's the question, Lag BaOmer. Is it that this is a holy day, wall to wall, and therefore also Mincha Shalafonov, you don't say Tachon, and therefore you could take a haircut the night before, and you can hear music the night before, or is it that only from Alois Shachar? That's the question.
Rav Shimon Bar Yochai was nifter after the students of Rabbi Akiva. Would his patira make any difference in this cheshbon? Because
according to Api Nigla, not obviously the simcha of
because if you'll say that before when Rav Shimon Bar Yochai was still alive, then this whole discussion about Tachon and not Tachon. But if we say that the Misa of a tzaddik,
right, is a special kedusha,
then it would change the whole. It changes the whole equation.
That's a good point. But here at this point, the Shulchan Aruch, the Alter Rebbe was not bringing in account
to put that in the equation.
Right, it's not bringing it into the equation.
Well, Sfaradim, you take a haircut in
The day after Yom Kippur.
Ramadan. But because now it's Thursday, it's Erev Shabbat, so they're allowed to take Thursday, not Friday.
Wednesday night or Thursday night.
Thursday day.
So let me finish off here. So the Rebbe has an interesting thing. The Rebbe later said he said it like this. If you look in the Siddur, let's finish off the words of it. The Rebbe writes in a letter, that someone asked about doing a wedding. Lag BaOmer was on Friday. The Rebbe said, don't do it Thursday night, do it on Friday because it's chamachloikis. But it seems that the Rebbe later changed his mind. In Tav Shalom Zayin, the Rebbe said these words. Alpi din in Shulchan Aruch is the Alter Rebbe nicht machriya beber zwischen the 2 days. After Fichein, bald hat angestellt in Siddur, also Minche von Erev Lag BaOmer, sagt man nicht kein Tachon, ist der Fünf verstandig, a Sof Kol Sof is a Machriya, the Indian von Lag BaOmer hört sich schon an von der Nacht. That in the Siddur, the Alter Rebbe said not to say Tachon, also the Minche that's before Lag BaOmer. That means that even though in Shulchan Aruch the Alter Rebbe brought two opinions, that Lamaisa he was Machriya Ladin, that Lag BaOmer is a Kedusha from wall to wall, all 24 hours. And maybe Alan is right that because the Siddur maybe was more, the Alter was more inclined to Kabbalah. And a Kabbalah Lag B'Omer is not only the lack of dying of the students of the Bakiva, but Lag B'Omer is a Yom Shel Chosr Shel Ashbi, and to the extent that Arizal said the story talking about Ibn Nachum, that Shulchan Aruch, I think even Pesach Tshuva, that he said every day Nachem, and he said on Lag B'Omer, he said Nachem, and he got punished for it. It was a big kapeda.
Punished for what?
For saying Nachem. Because he has to be happy. Yeah, he said it every day, but every day didn't matter. But he said it on Lag B'Omer, and that was bad news. You can't, as a Lag B'Omer, you have to be very happy. It doesn't matter when you got to be simcha on Lag B'Omer. So once you bring into the equation if Shimon Bar Yochai and Simcha, so you understand that he said that day should be a day of happiness. He didn't say from Alois Hashachar the day. So anyway, we see from the Siddur that Alter Rebbe was machriya, like the opinion that the Lag B'Omer, the Kedusha, and the Simcha is not just from Alois Hashachar, but is for the whole 24 hours. And therefore he said that the Mincha before, you already don't say Tachanun. So therefore it makes sense that you can make a Chasna or a Bar Mitzvah or a Simcha the night before, and you can have music.
And it would be concise.
And the Shaila is, should we start from Shkia or from Tzeis HaKechavim? So the truth is, here in Brooklyn, it's a mute question. The Bala Simcha asked me, so I said, it's a mute question. What are you calling it Simcha? Whenever you call it Simcha, machna shtois, here in Brooklyn, biz the Yidalach v'kumets again, and tell the Bar Mitzvah Bocher, say his pshetel, it shall be ready after, says HaKechavim.
And by a wedding, if you call
a wedding.
Let's say night 6:30 before Shkia.
Yeah, so you can't have music
during the
so you can't have music at the shmor. So you can't have music.
Delay the music.
So you can't have you can have the shmor without the music.
Is that possible?
Maybe you save some money. People eat a little less.
Why are you saying not that music?
I said to have music. After Tzeis HaKechavim.
So 8 o'clock.
Rabbi Morazov, the whole thing of Tachanun is the whole thing of Bein Hashmosh is a Sofek day, a Sofek Laila. But if you already didn't say Tachanun from Erev Lag B'Omer, that should be Machriya that you're allowed to start from the Tzeis
I'm mesupik about it. Like I said, I'm a little mesupik in my mind. But as I said, I think when it comes to Bar Mitzvah, it's a chal, not negeya. Till the Yidalach are going to show up to the Bar Mitzvah, until the Bachel will say his pshetel. The Bar Mitzvah Bachel, that wasn't the question. I'm not sure. I'm a super. But for sure, once it says HaKechavim, since the Alter Rebbe said La Maskonim, that he in the Shulchan Aruch you said it's totally on this shaila. If the kedusha is wall to wall, then Laila Shalafonim is mutar l'stapa mutar l'isha. And then in the Siddur he was machriya that the kedusha is wall to wall on Lag B'Omer. So for sure the night before is a chelik of Lag B'Omer. So the Eibishal Halfon Zalzana Sach Simchas, and the Taka, Zoya says that they told Reb Shimon Bar Yochai, Bahai Sifra Diloch, Yefukim Bein Gelusa Barachim, and when Yidden are going to be Oisek in the Sefer of Reb Shimon Bar Yochai, Pnimis HaTorah, and that's Chus to go out of Golus. So we've been doing plenty of that, and we should be Mamshech to do it. And Mitzvah that's Chus, we should have the Gula Shlema Vis Mashiach Tzidkeinu. And who knows, we could still maybe do Pesach Sheni in Yerushalayim.
Lama Nigara.
The carbon Pesach.
Yeah, we can play along.
My daddy was a Talmud from Minchos of Raza.
Who?
How many had
Oh yeah?
He was the Talmud from Minchos of Raza. So most probably he ate.
Probably ate twice. Ate and died. Your father's father?
I can't buy, so.
Tell us to roll out the red carpet.
He lived in Williamsburg, right? So the Mukachi Rebbe today
Right.
thought that why doesn't he want to come to bar talk? He said he's been over here.
was in my house last week.
So much so he wanted
From
his grandfather. Shorts.
Would there be Pesach Sheni? They didn't say
No, they wouldn't. So you see, we got to complain. We got to speak up. That's the most important shaila. Yeah, you got to scream. You got to complain. You got to talk.
Like Fretch.
You got to catch.
Good.